So good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me well. And welcome to our webinar on enhancing OT and IO visibility. Just some quick introductions. My name is Chris Booth. I'm a solution architect for Kedron UK. And presenting alongside me today, we have Luke Turner, who is a business development director for Keysight Technologies, and Hassan Kahani, who's a field technology officer for Forescout Technologies. Thank you for taking the time to attend in a busy day. The session will be recorded and shared afterwards, so don't worry if you need to leave early or would like to share this with a colleague in due course. During the presentation, if you've got any questions around specific points, please feel free to use the Q&A box up at the top of the Teams window, assuming it's there for everyone, and we've got a little time allocated at the end to answer any questions that come up. So just to introduce where we are today on this page, we're also going to be discussing challenges around OT and IoT security, some introductions around that space. OT has been around for obviously many years now, but the risks associated with them have increased as attackers look for weak spots in organizations that have traditionally perhaps not been that well defended. Likewise, IoT devices can be very useful in terms of smart devices, but can be horrible to secure with unknown vendors, poor support and updates, as issues to address. I'm sure everybody's heard of the American casino hack, which started from a smart fish tank thermometer of some time. That was probably installed with best intentions to look after the fish, but it came back to bite with data loss, reputational damage on that side. So Keysight can provide access to that network data in pretty much any location or physical format. And Forescout can use that data to deliver a number of benefits, some of the ones you see there, and we'll obviously dive into those in due course. I know we have some existing customers joining us today, but if you don't know who Kedron UK are, just a quick introduction to ourselves. We've been in business for over 20 years now, and we're tightly focused on just enterprise solutions. So that covers performance monitoring for management for applications and networks, alongside cybersecurity. And we work across all industry sectors, from large carriers, councils. We even have a small brewery who we work with on a number of different aspects as well. We don't generally supply things like commodity hardware, as I would call it. It's our exclusive focus is in this space. So, for instance, within cybersecurity, that can encompass NDR, SIEM, API security, ransom protection, and more. And we also have some in-house owned and developed products that target some specific use cases for carriers and enterprises, for instance, CMDB 2.0, as we call it, to enhance management solutions where people have got some specific challenges. So we work with a broad range of market leading, but also next generation disruptive vendors who perhaps have some different approaches and unique solutions, which we feel can benefit our customers. And finally, as the last box says, our technical team is UK based. Everybody is SC cleared, and they already work across lots of different customers in the critical national infrastructure, enterprise, high profile public sector, and others on that side. So not only can we install, but we can also then offer support and ongoing engagement with customers to build a long-term relationship. There's two partners, obviously, today are Keysight and Forescout. So why these? Well, as a partner, we see a lot of the benefits with tools comes from integration, and that's where the expertise on our technical basis really comes into play. That hard-learned knowledge from real-world deployments on that side. And as you'll see today, Keysight and Forescout are very complementary each other. Their integrations will continue to grow and improve, and that'll deliver even more benefits for their users on that side. So access to the network is critical for many tools, Forescout and others. So a reliable solution is key on that front. Keysight are one of the market leaders, which Luke will outline. They've got an extensive product range, lots of options to be able to cope with almost all requirements of getting that data and also other applications. And Forescout can then ingest that data, leverage it into their 4D platform. And as Hassan will show, that allows you to address a number of challenges around cyber risk, threat mitigation, improving security, hygiene, compliance, and more. So obviously today we're talking around OT and IoT visibility and security challenges on that front. But that can also extend into IoT for the healthcare sector, because it's very similar, smart, unmanageable, hard to control devices on that side. So the first point really there is visibility, and at the base of that, you cannot secure what you don't know about. That's it, really. Agent solutions are very good for traditional IT, but they do have weaknesses. So we know different security or administrative platforms can give different numbers. For instance, does your EDR endpoint tool give you a different number of assets compared to patch management or an asset management type tool on that? And if you do make use of agents, which, as I say, are a perfectly good solution, they can fail. There's an administrative overhead to keep them online, talking, reinstall, configure it on that side. So OT or IoT devices, they probably don't support an agent installation. They could be an old OS, perhaps there's some Windows XP or something slightly newer, Windows 7 kicking around in an embedded platform that is locked down by the vendor. You'd like to do more with it, but you can't because they won't let you. And then you've also got IoT things like CCTV cameras with video recorders. They're well known as perhaps having poor default security, hard-coded passwords, open ports. So getting visibility of these devices and that data which translates into giving you that knowledge. We need to assess the risk as well of these devices. And once we start to understand that risk, we can start to think about how we can remediate or mitigate. But that's not to say there is options to do either of those. In the case of OT, there might not be an easy answer. Perhaps the devices are very old, long out of support, manufacturer's not in business, or other factors. And if there is a way to perhaps do these things, do you really want to do that? Perhaps, again, there's no spare hardware, there's no plan B if an outage occurs or something like that. So perhaps a part of assessing that risk, we need to think, okay, well, what can we do about it? There may not be an easy option. We also need to measure and report compliance. Compliance is obviously a big thing these days across almost any industry, whether you're handling payments, you're in healthcare, finance, banking, whatever. So how can we measure the compliance of all these devices against our security policies, frameworks, and especially these hard to manage devices in the OT, IoT space? And how is that compliance then reported and logged? For instance, that could be on a risk register, documentation for an external audit, if you have external auditors reviewing where you are as a business or an organization on that side. So earlier this year, again in association with Keysight and Forescout, we ran a survey looking at this, and we distributed it across a wide number of users, lots of different industry sectors, to try and get an idea of how people are addressing these today, where the gaps are, how they need to improve. And we'll receive a copy, everyone today will receive a copy of the report afterwards, but just to highlight some of the questions that we answered on that, and in the first left box where we're asking about how do people demonstrate improvements in their security posture and compliance to the relevant stakeholders on that side. And there's obviously there, cross-tool correlations, following frameworks, but an interesting one there in the middle is use fake data as hopefully a tongue-in-cheek response, but if not, somebody's maybe got some problems to solve in the future if that does get found out, and not somewhere you probably really want to be. Top right option, CMDB, very common. Pretty much everybody of a certain size in terms of organizational size probably has one. It may be part of your ITSM platform. But when you do ask people, is it trustworthy? Quite often the answer is no, not entirely. And is it a manual process to update it? How do you keep it up to date to make sure it's definitive, accurate, and up to date on that side? If it's a manual process, even with the best will in the world, the best intentions, if there's a task that's not going to get done, it's probably something like that. And the third answer we've highlighted on that side, around compliance and how is the tooling help you address your compliance challenges. Mix of tools can be kind of get you part way, but correlating that information again can be difficult to achieve. And compliance regulations, they evolve, they change. And one example of that is, for instance, if you're in the NHS, the DSPT framework had some major changes and became aligned to CAF, as we call it. So just when you think you've got a handle on one thing, the goalposts can move. So compliance is an ongoing challenge for many people. So at this point, I will hand over to our first presenter of the day, Luke from Keysight.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm gonna start to present a little bit about Keysight, just one slide to tell you that Keysight has roughly $5 billion in annual revenue, more than 40,000 customers in more than 100 countries, supported by our employees around the globe, obviously including UK. More than 33,800 patents attest to our rich knowledge capital and dedicated investment in cutting-edge R&D. Why should that matter to you? It's because we apply all our strength to our one purpose, serving our customers and accelerating innovation to connect and secure the world. This is our company's mission and our promise. So another information is that if you don't know it, Keysight bought Ixia in 2018. So a lot of the visibility technology is coming from Ixia, bought in 2018. Including also the test. On the next slide, we are going to talk about a little bit the environment. So with the acceleration of digital transformation, companies around the world are now looking to increase the efficiency and the security of their networks. We have a robust set of network visibility solution for enterprise IT customers, operator and service providers, OSPs, banking, and obviously for in our topic today, OT and IoT environment. Keysight best-in-class solution provide more than 100% network packet visibility by easily eliminating blind spots, and you'll be free to focus on innovating network design and application. So what is driving the need for visibility today? Various area of cloud, cybersecurity protection, rate of data growth, which is some of the big challenges that we have. So what we say is that basically visibility is not an optional. It's about building a network visibility architecture that helps remove blind spots that prevent you from seeing and understanding what is happening with the data and application running on the network. A visibility network enables you to control and to optimize your network by quickly isolating security threats and resolving performance issues to ensure the best possible end user experience. Network application and security visibility are vital for achieving both IT and business objectives. Without full network visibility, IT can only react to problems. It will never be truly effective at proactively eliminating or preventing those problems. The best way to accomplish network visibility is to implement a visibility architecture, visibility fabric also, and an end-to-end infrastructure that enables physical and virtual network application and security visibility. So based on that, on this slide, you have a little diagram of on the right-hand side of the type of devices that we provide from 1 gig throughput to up to 400. On the last, you can see the Vision X, and also obviously we address virtual environment for the cloud. So our visibility platforms is based on a combination of various hardware platforms who have different performance value ranging from 1 gig to 400. We support virtual cloud environment called CloudLens. We support east-west, north-south traffic that is captured and directed through taps and bypass to our packet broker who will process the data. As such, we are able to decode even encrypted traffics, TLS 1.3, for example, aggregate, filter, replicate, load balance, deduplicate traffic to send to our tools partner, such as today with the case of Forescout. The more data we gather and filter to our tool, the better it will be for the analytics done by those tech partners, in particular Forescout, and especially for and within IT/OT networks. Next slide is more about specifically the way that we are also integrating with the Forescout DPI engine. So Keysight and Ixia dedicated hardware acceleration provide zero packet loss architecture, to the contrary of some of our competitors, and we do filtering of low risk and irrelevant traffic to help drop unnecessary traffic if needed. Aggregation of traffic from multiple taps, bypass, or span port is also possible. load balancing of traffic to multiple analysis tools, for example, is also a feature we provide. So that setup helps to eliminate security blind spots, dive faster analysis, automate mitigation action, and ensure business continuity. As we'll see on the next slide, under the Keysight App Fusion program, Forescout sensors can be integrated into the Keysight network packet brokers. So as we can see here, we've developed a program called App Fusion. So it's basically a robust manager for Kubernetes and KVM that can run containerized and VM for specific packet brokers. So the advantage of this specific program, that is the integration of some of the tool vendors within the packet broker, is that we will provide as much as possible raw data feeds to the tool directly from within the NPB at FPGA speed, without the need to go and forward data outside of the box, which obviously is still possible and is still the case today. But we are enhance these features with some of those tech partners to integrate it within the NPB. A lot of tool vendors have approached us as they want to move into a software-first approach and concentrate on annual recurring revenue models. So they were very happy to engage and work with us when we presented this possibility from a Tech Alliance standpoint. Forescout and iInspect deep packet inspection is one of them, and one of the most active ones. So just to present the three main devices that are really supporting this App Fusion program that address more super core or edge type of networks. So you can have the details later on. We'll send the link, but just as a way to look at how it looks like, it's like like a big switch, a Vision 400 and Vision Edge 1S, and with multiple multiple ports that will connect to the network. And of course, there is a very strong operating system on it. The case of Forescout within App Fusion, you can access directly Forescout console called iInspect Deep Packet Inspection directly from within our NPB. As you can see on the screenshot here, as long as net service will be deployed, that is a Docker-based image running onto the NPB, where we can also allocate specific amount of CPU to the processing and bandwidth, so that we avoid any bottleneck and any drops. So you just have a visual of directly iInspect from within the NPB and the way to connect it, and the way to connect to it. Last, I want to also mention a few information. We have also improved in the area of security governance with AI detection, secure AI, App Fusion, I talked a little bit, and smart data. AI detection, specifically 2023 IBM reports that 82% of businesses see AI-related risk as a top priority. Key concerns include data exfiltration, accidental breaches, privacy, regulatory violations. So to mitigate risk, customers must implement usage guidelines and actively monitor its use for non-compliance. So how do customers see if Gen AI is being used within the network, where, for what, and if this is used is not nefarious? For security, so that's what we've implemented, AI detection, and we're able to monitor the activity within the network. For secure AI, in a nutshell, our AI-aware visibility fabric can improve detection and analysis by reducing the data forwarded to the tools. And our new and future AI infrastructure capabilities are designed to seamlessly integrate into existing hybrid visibility fabrics. That is combining hardware-based NPB with virtual redirection of traffic with the cloud lens. So reducing the need for new and expanded tool systems and redundant sensor deployments. App Fusion is what we discussed with the integration of third-party tools within our NPB. We obviously can also continue to have the tools sitting outside of the NPB and fed regularly. Smart data on the right-hand side is more focused for operators and service providers. Now, this closes up my session, and I would like to hand over to Mr. Hassan, who will present about Forescout. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. Thank you for your attendance. Hassan, up to you.
Thank you, Luke. Good afternoon, everyone. So let me begin introducing myself. Hassan Qarhani, Field Technology Officer in Forescout Technology for EMEA and APJ. I'll begin with some basically key facts around Forescout Technologies. We've been working with critical infrastructures from government to financial services, healthcare, and many OT verticals when it comes like manufacturing, energy, utilities, and so on. And we've been in business more than 23 years. We have more than 3,000 customers, and we serve 30% of Fortune 100. In addition, we are now protecting more than 67 million devices, and we are analyzing in our cloud more than 39 billion unique data points being monitored as we speak. So in a high level, what Forescout does is, and this is, by the way, the brand new, the 4D platform that's been announced just a few weeks ago. So when it comes in very high level, we are the asset intelligence and control platform that helps you basically to discover, to understand what's the reality of your network, to assess the criticality and the risks and threats, understand your attack surface basically and exposure, and help you with the response, with the control, in order to help you to control at scale, in order to help you automate and prioritize the mitigation risks and threats accordingly. And finally, continuously helping you to govern at the end, in order to achieve your business outcomes. When it comes to how our customers are actually using the platform, and this is a vision as well that includes some enhancements that we are including for those deliverables. Mostly they are actually getting Forescout because they want to control and secure their networks. And this is really regardless of the location of every cyber assets that's connected on your landscape. We help not only with compliance reporting, but also with the enforcement of this compliance. When it comes to risk, we help with the prioritization of mitigation and remediation actions. When it comes to threats, we help with the discovery, detection, and response. And finally, I'm going to touch a little bit as well on during this presentation around the zero trust assurance, because many organizations are considering it part of their roadmap as well, but they are finding some challenges into productizing basically the intelligence from their existing tools and platforms to move securely into this path. At a high level, this is actually the first high-level overview about Forescout platform being positioned in the heart of your compliance and governance. So at the end, this is our main functionalities, main values that we deliver that actually directly ties with your top compliance and governance part. So, and the foundation of all of this begins with the asset intelligence. And we begin gathering this, and this is going to be the main topic as well. We're going to dive a little bit into more details about the way that we collect this information using our on-prem basically appliances. By the way, the solution is basically have two components. It's a hybrid. We have on-prem and cloud components. Our focus obviously today will be more on the on-prem because that's how it's tightly integrated with the Keysight. So we integrate with the existing infrastructure. We need to listen to traffic, especially when we're talking about lower Purdue levels. The only option for you sometimes is to listen to this traffic, and hence we need a reliable source, and hence the integration with Keysight is so important. Although we do some active as well integrations, whether toward endpoints or toward the infrastructure, that's very selective. And we help gathering all this contextual information, whether it's about your cyber assets, be it in your cloud, in your private data center, IT, IoT, or medical devices, or in industrial control system within your OT networks. So all of this at the end could be seen by Forescout as a single unified asset intelligence interface. And then we augment it basically with our cloud services. Cloud services, we have mainly two main components when it comes to risk and exposure. And this is really prioritizing your risks, prioritizing where you need to tackle in order to lower your exposure today. And why, and of course, understanding the risk is basically understanding the multiple steps within the asset, like understanding the criticality, the configuration of this, in addition to their behavior, in order for us to decide on these risk and take the recommended actions accordingly. We include as well the segmentation, which we're going to touch a little bit as well today within the Zero Trust framework. And when it comes to the other side about threat detection and response, and this is mainly a recent as well statistic, like more than actually 48% of the attacks happening on the unagentable devices. Today, most of the organizations are not able to detect it because they don't have the right tools. So for us, it's quite important for us to cover that area, given in certain, for example, verticals, like in case of medical, for example, or health delivery organizations, 33%, for instance, of the attacks are targeting the unagentable devices. And we're talking here about the IoT devices and the devices where you cannot deploy the legacy agents on it. During this process, obviously, you have your existing cyber ecosystem. But the problem today, you have all these scattered tools, and we try basically to automate and orchestrate with your existing tools. And this is through context augmentation and by providing some control actions from a single location in this case. So you can look at Forescout as your single point when it comes to seeing those assets in terms of asset intelligence, combining the different source of augmenting this different source of information coming from your existing vulnerability management, EDRs, and so on, and also taking control over your multiple enforcement points across. In terms of securing the IT and OT environments, our main topic as well with Keysight is going to be about passive monitoring, but this does not mean that we can do as well other techniques, especially in IT environments, like active techniques toward the infrastructure. And this, by the way, could be easily as well integrated with the OT, orchestration with your existing systems, with your ITSM, unified endpoint management, EPP, and so on, in addition to private or public clouds. We have as well active techniques toward the endpoint itself. So we can query certain OT and IoT devices using their private and proprietary protocols, or we can access your Windows, Mac, and Linux via agentless approach. And this is where majority of our customers, they love that specific function because of the capability basically to read the compliance without the need to have the agent being deployed. When it comes to passive monitoring, this is where most of the magic happens. We have plenty of functionalities that relies on this traffic, especially in operation technology, industrial control system, for the IoT devices, and so on. So we use passive techniques, but we need to have reliable traffic for that. We can ingest flows, but definitely the most powerful data is gathered from the span, which is provided in this case by Keysight, which brings me basically to the main outcome that we can get from Forescout platform the moment we integrate with Keysight. And this is, by the way, very straightforward integration. So first, it's going to contribute this passive information toward the asset discovery. It's going to contribute toward the classification. We collect plenty of contextual information around the assets related to the classification, and then we augment it further with the function, operating system, and all the intelligence on top of it. Plus, it helps us basically to detect any change, so we can keep on monitoring in real time. And this is a contribution in addition to help us complete your inventory in our platform in preparation, for instance, afterwards to update your CMDB and to keep it true it up at any point in time across all of your cyber assets. Second point is related to risk analysis. So we understand the configurations of your devices, your compliance. We understand when it comes to IoT, OT, and IoMT, we detect their vulnerabilities. We can augment it further with the exploitability. We understand the posture of your devices. Are you using like default credentials? Weak posture, for example, could be easily exploited in this case. Your exposures, whether to ports that are used for access or control. In addition, what does it mean for you to be compliant when it comes to certain based on type of devices? So you can always tailor your compliance data when it comes, for example, for your IT devices, even if they are residing within your OT environments. Plus, it helps us to detect threats. And this is by ingesting, we ingest more than actually 80 sources of threat intelligence, and we extend it either on-prem, by the way, or through the cloud. So we have, I would say, for each one of those, there are 2 levels. On the on-prem, we can leverage our indicator of compromise, industrial threat library. We can monitor the behavior, and if there is a violation of the baseline, deep protocol behavioral inspection, in addition to man-in-the-middle detection of man-in-the-middle attack. This is mainly targeting the rogue devices that are found in some of these networks, especially in critical infrastructures. And finally, related to network analytics. Now, after understanding the asset, the risk, and threat, you can as well map this visualization, do the protocol analytics, especially for OT, maybe operations part, not necessarily for cybersecurity, In addition to most important two topics, segmentation and zero trust assurance, which I'm going to double click on it on the next two slides. But to end up, it's not only these are the general functionalities, but also we have more specific operational and cybersecurity functionality when it comes to IoT and OT, in addition to healthcare cybersecurity. For example, detecting the devices that are touching PHI information, that's going to be part of your risk calculation. In addition to, for example, be able to respond based on the span, you'll be able to apply some segmentation rules like applying a virtual firewall, or of course orchestration action like taking control via an external firewall, for instance. Which brings me to the next part. And this is usually a big topic, and this is an architectural element. It's about the segmentation. Sometimes, as per ISO 99 and IEC 62443, it's actually, this is related to zoning. And it all depends on understanding, on having the asset intelligence first. You can't zone based on IP addresses only. And most of the segmentation projects fail because today we depend on the segments based on subnets, which is not accurate at all, especially when you know that most of these thin clients are actually moving in thick client segments and vice versa, and all of this mix, and especially like in healthcare, you see this IOMT devices mixed along with your IoT and IT on the same SSIDs, and we've seen it in many healthcare delivery organizations. So the first thing, you need really to group them based on the asset intelligence that we provide, then correlated afterwards with the flow, with the span that we have received from Keysight, in order for you to design this, what we call the least privilege, basically, policies, and go afterwards in order to help you design the policy that needs to be enforced via your policy enforcement afterwards. And this is a critical step. So we have usually two steps when it comes to least privilege policy design, and there is as well micro-segmentation rules between group of devices. And you know, one of the worst things is that when you go into the segmentation part, if you make a change immediately on the enforcement point, it might disrupt your operations. And this might happen like during a backup, during, you know, afterwards, something has not been seen before. So it's very important for you to simulate any segmentation rule change and without impacting your environment. And this is something that we provide part of our cloud augmentation, part of our basically risk and exposure, in addition to ability to validate or assure that whatever you have deployed in terms of policies are actually properly configured. What happened in this case, and this is a real life example of one of the customers who have more than 500 firewalls distributed, and the moment he actually pushed a firewall rule after we designed it, actually maybe half of these firewalls do not get the update, and they are actually struggling sometimes to find which ones did not have. So by having actually just assurance part, you'll be able to know where are the violations that are missing. So whether you have one or multiple actually enforcement technologies, we want to ensure that it's end-to-end is actually assured as per your zero trust rules. And that's exactly what we do in this first part. The second part is really all related around the SDP, what we call the software defined perimeter. And this is, you can see, by the way, Forescout and Microsoft logo in here. So we when it comes to the devices centric approach, risk and threats, this is where actually Forescout plays a major role. So provide a store in the cloud, and the Forescout platform on-prem can help with device-centric approach. So we could be basically the policy decision point that will work with your enforcement points. Just to describe in high level what you are seeing right now, the layer on the bottom, and this is for network engineers who know this very well, this is the data plane. This is the inline. This is where all the devices access the resources in real time. And usually, in zero trust, we assume all the devices are untrusted and the resources are trusted. And there's an enforcement points, whatever type of technology we're using for the enforcement part. Now, to control this data plane, there's a control plane, and this is where more and more intelligence will come, whether from logging, for example, for activity logs, from threat intel, from the compliance checking, from continuous diagnostic and mitigation systems, data access policies, and so on. And all of these systems, in addition to your SIM, even to your existing SOAR. And all of these devices, when they need to touch the enforcement point, there's a common mistake that they try to link directly the SIM, for example, to an enforcement point. This does not work. You need to have a decision point in between where it can understand the impact, it can understand the criticality of the device, it can help you to create the right workflow for you to do these enforcements. So we have, by the way, dedicated white paper around this, but in high level, Forescout can help you to understand your attack surface, understand all the assets across your enterprise, understand the criticality of the devices that are connected and the risk associated with it, enrich it by integrating with your existing vulnerability management, EDR, SIM, NG firewalls, and so on, and help you to control the access from a central location, wherever it is, on any type of the network that we've seen before, and continuously validate in order to help you with your governance at the end. One last word about enforcement points. Forescout could be part of network access. Many people, they were using Forescout as access control when it comes to the NAC part, but in reality, we could integrate with your existing even NAC or with your perimeter, basically centric NG firewalls, or with the agent-centric EDRs, for instance, and personal firewalls, in addition to the application-centric found in cloud and data center infrastructures. Last word around orchestration. So we've seen the criticality of the device of Forescout being positioned in the heart of your compliance, but we cannot do it on our own. So this is why even for our existing customers, we always encourage them to integrate with their existing tools, like, for example, with their EDR, with their SIM, with their CMDB, whether it's related to truing up the CMDB or for your ITSM service as well, when a security compliance violation took place, automatically opening case, fixing things, and then closing the case, which we could create this workflow for you in order for you to see, all the actions as a proof of what Forescout is achieving. On the EDR side, I would just mention one use case, which is quite important, related, for example, usually the EDR is focusing on your corporate machines when it comes to your contractors, when it comes to your shadow IT, sometimes they call devices, when it comes to your BYOD devices, you can deploy all these EDR agents on these devices. So what happened is that, and this actually, we did this in many healthcare organizations, we were able to extend, of course, not only the hygiene, ensuring hygiene of the connected devices, but also any indicator of attacks in case of CrowdStrike or indicator of compromise that are shared with us from those like Defender, like Trellix and Wildfire, for example, Palo Alto and CrowdStrike, obviously. So we can leverage this IOCs in order to hunt for other devices, like a spearfished attack, where actually a contractor just opened the file and he was able, his machine got infected. Even though he doesn't have an EDR, other machines where you have EDR, you might be protected, but on those machines, we were able to see it and we were able to quarantine it immediately. So all of these integrations will add definitely a value for you to help you defend your infrastructure. As a summary, we've seen the Keysight basically having a steady stream of reliable network data can help us eliminate the security blind spots, drive faster analysis, prioritize and automate mitigation actions, and ensuring at the end truly the business resilience, along with Forescout differentiators when it comes to being a unified solution covering your assets, risks, and threats, and providing control across different types of devices found in IT, IoT, medical, or operation technology. We are continuous and provide a real-time visibility. In addition to control actions, we are vendor agnostic, so we'll be able to integrate with many of your existing infrastructure, and we are totally agentless technology, so we deliver the value without adding, management cumbersome of the agents. At the end, with Kedron, Forescout, and Keysight, we can help you to provide a complete asset intelligence and complete control. And now we're going to see a use case. Back to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Luke, for your presentations there. So yeah, just a brief look at an example use case of a combined Keysight and Forescout deployment. So this was a critical infrastructure provider, and they were specifically looking to get visibility and secure their OT assets. So a combined solution here obviously leverages all those benefits that we just heard about. on that side. So Keysight tapping and network packet broker, that visibility fabric, to give it an overall name, allows the end user in this case to filter the network bandwidth or the traffic that they're capturing to what is really of interest on that side, tag egress traffic so they can understand location and things. And they've also, Keysight also have a range of tough taps and other products for harsh environmental conditions, because when we're talking about OT and so on, not everything is a lovely clean server room. It could be industrial work spaces, substations, that kind of stuff. So need to be able to cope with those environmental challenges. Once Keysight's got that data, it allows it to deliver it into Forescout through its inspect. And we heard about the deep packet inspection and the capabilities of that for that asset inventory and audit of those devices. So as a result, inventory of OT assets, audits and checks against their vulnerabilities, any rogue devices that have appeared accidentally or on purpose on that, and obviously that back to compliance, avoiding any fines, regulatory issues on that side. So just as a high level kind of overview diagram of how that translates into deployment, this is awfully overlaid onto a Purdue model with its 5 layers. We can see we've got Keysight taps capturing relatively low level information there, but also higher up within operational environment. That can all be delivered into the network packet broker and the Forescout sensor. Obviously, with the recent announcements, they could be integrated potentially into one physical hardware device, and that can ultimately go into the larger Forescout 4D platform on that side. But just some of the benefits around that, obviously you always use taps, but spans can be an option. Avoid some of the issues that span has. We can monitor those virtualized assets should they exist in some shape or form. We can aggregate traffic, so we can filter out unneeded traffic. So I talked around briefly before, CCTVs a well-known security risk on that front. So you're perhaps interested in the CCTV devices. What are they? Where are they? What other devices on the network are those cameras talking to? So it should perhaps just be a video recorder, digital video recorder, but you're not necessarily interested in the video camera stream in what's been sent by that camera back to its DVR. So we can filter that out at packet broker level, frees up processing capabilities and storage and so on within inside the Forescout platform on that side. And as I mentioned, this can all be done across harsh environments, so we can capture that data anywhere, be it copper, fiber, so on and so forth. So just hopefully some key takeaways to summarize today. Your attack surface is always increasing. Life doesn't get any easier. IT is ever evolving, ever changing on that side. So it just doesn't stand still. So having an automated platform to give you that visibility is important on that side. And visibility is not important, or sorry, it is important. It's not optional. As I said at the start of the session, you can't secure what you don't know about, and that's where the risks come from. And that needs to translate into that continuous loop that Hassan showed around discovery, assessment, actions, and so on and so forth. And there is a promised land, so to speak, around the automated action side, and that does sound really good, really attractive, that things happen automatically, but it needs to be an achievable and progressive plan to get there on that side. So the first step, understanding that discovery piece, what's on the network, what is it up to, what's the risk around it. As Hassan showed, visualizing traffic flows is perhaps the next step. So you could start to simulate the impact of your segmentation or zero trust policies. When we make these changes, are we going to break stuff and give ourselves a major headache and potentially an embarrassing outage on that side? So let's do that once we understand the data and the impact of that. And when we want to run at the end, we can look at some of the automation, so vulnerability scanning, patching and that kind of stuff, integration with next generation firewalls, some of the other vendors in the ecosystem that Hassan showed then. So we can start to automate, make lives a little bit easier, hopefully on that side, but we've got to have the foundations in place for that to work properly. So any questions we'd be happy to receive. I haven't had any yet on that side. Understand people may not wish to ask specific questions about your environment. There may be a sensitive nature to that or something that you don't want to share in public, so that's understandable. So please reach out to either the wider sales team at Kedron or myself. Obviously, email address, phone numbers there if you want to ask something offline as a follow-up. Okay, perhaps one there for Hassan. A question from Jacob. How are you helping healthcare organisations secure their medical devices, and specifically anything legacy? So I guess that could also be, old medical devices can be very expensive, so it's not always optional to replace a big scanner, or you have quite a lot of a number of devices, so it's a rip and replace, and upgrading isn't necessarily something that's budgetable. So how can you help people with that?
Definitely. So usually in healthcare delivery organizations, there are exactly these challenges we mentioned. There is a huge growth of connected devices. There is a gap, visibility gaps basically that exist within the network. They don't know really what's connected. In addition, they are unable to detect the threats coming from those unagentable devices, legacy devices that you mentioned. And we basically address all of this by, first of all, with the Discover, again, by identifying and assessing all connected assets. And very important for healthcare is about segmentation. I can tell you how many times we went into healthcare organizations. Not only we detected at least 30 to 40% extra of what they were originally reporting, part of their CMDB. In addition to the fact that segmentation is very critical. Like we've seen medical actually, like infusion pumps and so on, being connected on the same wireless network along with IT devices. And that's actually quite common. We've seen a single account logged into hundreds of these machines, nursing stations, and so on. So having those visibilities and seeing, for example, a medical research in a university, basically a hospital, connected to the guest network to bypass all the DLP, and protections found within the IT network, corporate IT. So, things that are beyond we learned from our customers when it comes to solving the problem, but at the end we give the tools to understand the assets in terms of discovery, in terms of segmentation, helping them with the risk by understanding the vulnerability associated with those devices in a passive way, especially like if you can't reach to this span port or to this traffic. This is where Keysight definitely will come into the play, and then help as well with the threat detection and to do something about it at the end. We just not only report on the risk or on the threats, but also we can help you to orchestrate stuff. And this is what we do through our control in terms of response or through orchestration and automation capabilities. Obviously, and I would refer you as well to one of our technical solution brief when it comes to how Forescout basically helps the NHS mainly organizations to meet the new CF along with the DSP toolkit requirements. So I believe we provided a detailed response in that white paper, and we're going to share it maybe after this workshop.
That was great. Yeah, thank you, Hassan. There's an in-depth one there, answer for that question. Maybe just wait a moment, see if any other questions do appear. No more questions at this time. So I think we can probably wrap up then a little bit early, give people a chance to grab a drink. But thank you for joining today, everyone. I hope the session's been informative and educational. Thank you to our guest presenters, Luke and Hassan, for your time and efforts today, and along with the support of Keysight and Forescout for their assistance in this, and also my colleague Kirsty, who has organised the session. As I mentioned before, if you've got any immediate questions or would like to know more, please reach out to us. Again, contact details are there. Everybody will be contacted in due course with the recording from today, a copy of the survey report, so information to share with colleagues if needed on that. So with that, I think we'll close the session. I wish everybody a good afternoon. Thank you.